German Chancellor Friedrich Merz will not be in Yerevan today as he deals with the fallout from his criticism of Washington's handling of the war with Iran. Despite the spat, Merz is adamant that he won't give up working with President Donald Trump. Merz is trying to take down the temperature after Washington announced plans to reduce the number of US troops in Germany. The Chancellor says the announcement is not surprising and should not be seen as retaliation. Take a listen.
I have to accept that the American president holds a different view on these issues than we do. But I remain convinced that the Americans are important partners for us, the most important ones in the North Atlantic Alliance. We have a shared interest in Europe and America working together to end this conflict and then to end the war in Ukraine, to provide joint security guarantees for Ukraine. We have already achieved a great deal together in this regard.
Well, Trump's planned pullout is also ruffling feathers within his own camp. Two senior U.S. Republican lawmakers have criticized the decision from the Pentagon to cut 5,000 U.S. troops stationed in Germany. Roger Wicker and Mike Rogers, who chair the Senate and House Armed Services Committees, respectively said that the move risked undermining the U.S. deterrence and would send the wrong signal to Russia. Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Good to see you, Philip. So are we seeing a pushback by Republicans against Donald Trump here?
I think we're beginning to see splits within the Republican movement. Remember that the US has midterm elections coming up in November. Many Republicans are becoming increasingly worried about the situation in the war in Iran and also on their own political future because the war in Iran has been rejected by a large number of people in the United States. Another poll released just on Friday by the Washington Post, ABC News and Ipsos found that 61% of American adults say it was a mistake for the US to use military force against Iran, with 36 only now believing that it was the right decision to be made by Donald Trump. So I think that there is concern that this is going to hinder their chances electorally and also politically, and they're deciding to push back. This is quite a rare move because many Republicans have been terrified by the response from Donald Trump, the fact that they're going to be stigmatized and made in public, ridiculed by the US president. But I think they're now worried, so they're beginning to stand up. You mentioned those two names, Roger Wicker and Mike Rogers, who chair the Senate and House Armed Services Committees. What they're basically saying is that this is the wrong decision to withdraw these 5,000 troops from Germany out of the 36,000 or so that are stationed there. What Donald Trump needs to do is to move them further east, because if you do withdraw them from Germany, it's going to be sending the wrong signal to Vladimir Putin and giving him more inclination to want to launch in the future maybe an attack against a NATO member to see how that goes. And one of the NATO members he could launch an attack against would be one of the eastern members of the European Union. So that is all playing into the hands of Vladimir Putin. Reduce the numbers of troops based in Germany. Remember, the 36,000 there, or the 10,000 in the UK, and about 12,000 based in Italy. Even Donald Trump has been hinting about the fact that he might withdraw those troops from other nations in Europe as well. So I think this is a beginning of a pushback. We've had other Republicans pushing against Donald Trump last week. We had Rand Paul of Kentucky and Susan Collins of Maine demanding that the Republicans break ranks on a resolution to remove American forces from the Iran conflict. And also we have John Curtis, a Republican from Utah, calling on Donald Trump to respect the War Powers Resolution of 1973. That's to say, to seek permission from Congress before launching a full-scale war on Iran after 60 days. Donald Trump's reply is, well, we're in a ceasefire now. That resolution doesn't apply while there is a ceasefire in effect.
Well, Philip, just remind us of what caused this and the importance of US troops in Germany.
Well, Friedrich Merz went to a school last week and made a speech during which he was quite outspoken about Donald Trump. One of the points that he made was the Americans clearly have no strategy, according to him, and the entire nation is being humiliated by Iran. He said that, as I've just been saying, this was sending the wrong message to Vladimir Putin amid fears that he was preparing to strike a NATO country in the next 5 years. And then Donald Trump replied to that saying, well, we're going to cut way down the numbers of troops based in Germany. We're cutting a lot further than just 5,000. We don't know how many that means. He also said that Friedrich Merz is doing a terrible job as Chancellor and didn't understand anything about the war in Iran. So it's been a tit-for-tat standoff, and some are saying, well, it's nothing to do with troops being based in Germany. It's to do with the fact that Donald Trump is taking it out on Friedrich Merz because Friedrich Merz upset Donald Trump personally over those remarks. It's something to do with the fact that those troops are based in the country. Friedrich Merz, as we were hearing in that interview yesterday, has been pushing back a little bit. He said there was no connection between his comments and the troop reduction in Germany. I don't know how many people are going to want to believe that, but there seems to be a little bit of backpedaling by the Germans on all of this. But the bottom line is that Donald Trump is furious with the Germans, with other members of the European Union, with other members of NATO for not, as he sees it, stepping up and paying what they're due to pay to keep NATO running, and saying the US has been paying far too much compared to other nations, and that's why he's pulling back. You just need another excuse, another remark off the cuff, like the one made by Friedrich Merz, for Donald Trump to take more action to punish members of NATO for not stepping in and paying their dues, and also for not helping him in the war in Iran.
Well, as you just said there, this is just the latest step in Trump's continued anger against fellow NATO members for not supporting the war in Iran. How will this particular situation play out?
Well, it's difficult to say right now how this is going to play out in the long run. The German Defense Minister, Boris Pistorius, said that if we're to remain transatlantic, we must strengthen the European pillar within NATO. I think definitely Europe is trying to boost its own military supplies. This is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot longer to do that than it would for this tit-for-tat to be overcome between Germany and the United States. Look at the peace plan that is now currently underway in Iran, between the US and Iran. 14-point plan focused on ending the war. What Iran is saying, a 1-month deadline for negotiations on a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, an end to the US naval blockade, a permanent end to the wars in Iran and Lebanon. Donald Trump's pushed back on all of this, saying that Iran hasn't paid a big enough price for the 47 years of all the damage it's caused humanity and the world, and we are still in a position of stalemate. So right now, there doesn't seem to be a breakthrough, and we'll have to wait to see how this plan by Donald Trump, Project Freedom, to help these ships get through the Strait of Hormuz, these ships that are just stuck there because they can't get through, that have nothing to do with the war, whether that is going to bear its fruits or not.
We'll have to see. Philip, thanks so much for that breakdown, as always. Appreciate that.